I'll never recover. Hi, my name's AudreyGale and I do art, and today I come to you with breaking news. I'm here to tell you that this video was not clickbait. Approximately 24 hours ago, my favorite singer visited my art booth. For those of you who don't know, I'm an artist based out of Nashville, Tennessee. There are a lot of singers, songwriters, musicians, and just celebrities that live in this area. And I have seen a few before. I've never gone up to any of them. I don't want to bother people, even though I might have geeked out a little bit on the sidelines. I've always said though, that if I meet this one person, if I see this person out and about, I would have to go up to them because they just mean that much to me. That person is Kacey Musgraves. I grew up on country music. I've been a fan of it my whole life. There is great country music. There is terrible country music. And Kacey Musgraves to me has been my favorite artist for the last 6 years, I'd say. I listen to her music almost on a daily basis. I've seen her 3 times in concert. I have gotten tickets to like exclusive events. I saw her twice last year alone. And basically I think that everything she puts out is perfect and she doesn't have a bad song. So I've always said that if I happen to see her out and about, I'd have to at least go up to her and tell her how much I love her music. So let me set the scene for you. When I quit my job back in June, I kind of signed up for a bunch of local farmers markets just to fill my schedule. I kind of panicked. I kind of was like, oh, I need to fill up my schedule so I can actually make money. And that was not a great decision on my part because these are not good markets that I signed up for. I'm glad that I tried it so I know, but overall I've gone to about 10 of them. In the local area, and they're just not where people are getting art. People are not there to buy art, they're there to buy food mostly. That being said, I had one yesterday. I had one of these events. I was not looking forward to going. I didn't even feel that great that day. I just was not doing fabulous from a mental standpoint because I knew I was gonna have to do all this work to like not make any money. And I said, you know, I don't have anything else going on. I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go. I committed to this thing. I'm going to go. And I went, I set up, and did I make a lot of money? Not at all. It was not a great market as I expected. But I'm so glad that I went. So about an hour and a half into the market, I was standing at my booth. I was kind of looking around. I was kind of on my phone, kind of looking back and forth, and I spotted somebody in my peripheral, and she wasn't walking real slow, but she was just kind of strolling throughout the fair. And in my mind I go, that girl looks like that's Kacey Musgraves. Like within 2 seconds I clocked it. And she was about a foot away from my face because I was standing at the corner of my booth and she was in the walkway. And I just go, Kacey, kind of quietly, also as if I know her. I don't. And she whips right around. She looks right at me. And I go, I'm sorry. I go, I'm sorry to interrupt. I said, but you're like my favorite singer. She was just so lovely. And she was like, oh, thanks so much, you know. And she said, yeah, I just thought I'd pop in and see what was going on around here. And then I kind of went into this mode of, you know, I'm here selling my art and I just want to show Kacey Musgraves what I do because I just think that'd be so cool. And I said, well, these are my paintings. And she quickly piped in and was like, oh, I had that Tamagotchi, I had that Game Boy. And she pointed at a Dr. Pepper and she said, I literally just had a Dr. Pepper before I got here. That's so funny. And I basically walked towards my booth a little bit more and said, listen, you can have anything you want. And she was like, oh, you sure? Like, I'm like, please, you have no idea how much your music means to me. And she was just very thankful and appreciative. And she goes, well, the Dr. Pepper would be cool. And I flipped through my prints. I got it for her. I said, it's all yours. And then I kind of showed her like that I do the paint your pet parties where people can, I help people paint their pets. And she was like, oh, that's so cool. I said, if you ever need a picture of Pepper done, if you ever need a portrait of Pepper done, please let me know. I got you. And she's like, well, I can't say no to that. And I asked if we could get a selfie with the art, and she was like, yeah, sure, you know. And as I was getting my phone out, I was like telling her, I was like, we saw you at Bridgestone last year. I said, I saw you at the Ryman last year for the Deeper Well show. And that's like that was like a very exclusive fan event that you had to get in with certain pre-sale code. They only announced that event 2 days before it actually happened. So I think if anything solidified that I'm a fan, it was that. And she was talking about the Ryman. She's like, yeah, that was so cool. That was fun. I started to get my camera out, and she's like, yeah, you got to get in here on this. Excuse me? So then I take these amazing selfies, and then at some point, as I'm piecing this together, I'm remembering things. She asked me for my Instagram. I handed her a card. I don't know why I just didn't like tell her my Instagram. That's my one regret. And I just thanked her, and she thanked me, and she went on her way. She, you know, she wasn't with anyone. She was just literally popping in and popping out. About 10 minutes later, I saw her walk back by my booth, and she had a bag in her hand, and she initiated eye contact with me and was like, thanks again. And I was like, thanks. All this to say, she was incredible and so nice and cool. And I hope she wasn't weirded out by me too much. I hope that I wasn't like, I don't know, messing up her little stroll through the farmer's market. And I hope that I wasn't like forcing my art on her, like, but she's the one that said something about it, okay? Like, she's the one that pointed it out in the first place. So I thought, you want it, you got it, girl. Yeah, I'm so glad that I decided to tough it out and go to this thing, even though I knew I wasn't gonna make any money. Immediately, I called my husband, I called my best friend, and told them everything that happened. It was a true like out of body experience. It was like, as it was happening, I was like, I can't believe this is happening right now. It's like a dream. And I've actually met quite a few famous people before, but it's always been in like meet and greet situations, like a situation where I knew that that was going to be happening, and I could prepare what I was going to say and what was going to happen, and they had their game face on, you know what I mean? So I'm very grateful that she was so kind and just, you know, couldn't have been cooler, as I always pictured it like that. I don't know, last night really sparked something in me, and I just, you know, the last few months have been, you know, kind of a roller coaster. I have never been happier to be in this position, but it's also stressful to think about, how am I going to manage this? How am I going to make this financially doable? And this last month has been particularly tricky for me because I've had a bunch of dud markets that I talked about. I kind of panic applied for. I had a bunch of those. So I had like all these dates I was obligated to go to that I knew that weren't going to work out. I wasn't really in the position to like attend better markets because these applications are due months in advance. So I kind of have gone through this whole season of bad markets recently, and it can get to you after a while. It can make you feel like that this is not going to work out. And I've been particularly down about that lately and just worried about how I'm going to make this work. I do think that part of it is sticking it out a little bit, like sticking it out for the good markets coming up in November, December. I then have a period of time in January, February where there's no markets at all. So I'm kind of like, what am I going to do? And then in March, it starts picking up again. So I know that if I just kind of hold out, it should start to pick up. But sometimes, you know, that's a lot easier said than done. And last night when that happened, I just, not to sound cringe, but it's almost like it was a sign that I'm doing the right thing. It was almost like, okay, this is a sign from the universe to keep going, keep working at this. You're on the right track. Because if I had not quit my job a few months ago, I would have never met her. I would have never been at this event. I would have never panic applied to a bunch of events that are not good for me. And I would have never met her. And I will say, you know, if the whole art thing doesn't work out, I have no regrets. At least I met Casey Musgraves. So I'm taking this as a sign that this is all going to work out. I just need to stick to it. I will say, like, this past week, I feel like things are starting to align for me. I've been, like, going to Nashville networking events. I've been getting a lot of leads from that. After a season of, like, tough markets and, like, some events being canceled that were kind of beyond my control, the last week, I feel like things are really starting to come together to the point where I'm like, maybe I need to buy a lottery ticket. Like, I feel like I have this lucky streak going right now. There's that saying that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And I feel like I've really been going hard at making this work for the last few months, but also the last 10 years. And I feel like I'm now starting to really get somewhere with this. And I don't know, when I stumbled upon my favorite singer randomly on a Tuesday in the middle of Nashville, and she was nothing but wonderful, that feels like some sort of sign to me to keep going. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've never listened to Casey Musgraves, I encourage you to. Even if you're not a big fan of country, I think she's got a little something for everyone. And Casey Musgraves, if you're watching this, you're not. But if you are, I love your music, and thank you so much for being so kind and just so cool. And let a girl know if you ever want a portrait of your dog, because I will do it for you. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this sort of thing, I post videos all the time about art markets, art business, art tutorials, paint parties, murals. So if you're into that sort of thing, please subscribe. And thanks for watching. Bye.